Did the New England Patriots win Sunday, or did the Jacksonville Jaguars give it away? Did we underestimate the Philadelphia Eagles? In basketball, how long do the Cleveland Cavaliers stick with head coach Tyronn Lue? Did the Milwaukee Bucks make the right decision in firing head coach Jason Kidd? And who were this year's biggest All-Star snubs? All these questions answered and more on this week's episode of The Breakdown.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Breakdown. I'm Mike.
And I'm Austin.
And it's been a great week of sports. And we're going to start off by breaking it down with, did the Patriots win on Sunday, or did the Jacksonville Jaguars give it away?
The Jacksonville Jaguars gave this game away, without a doubt. They had a big lead early on, 14-3 in the first half. New England goes down and scores a touchdown late to make it an interesting game, 14-10 at halftime. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars come back out, firing all cylinders. They make the game 20-10. And, going into the fourth quarter, I really thought they were going to win this football game. And they just got too conservative at the end. You look at their stats. They tried to feed the ball in the first half. They had the run game going. Blake Bortles was playing really well, making good throws. And they just got away from that. I think the big problem was that Coach Marone was kind of scared to put the ball in his hands at the end. And I think it ended up costing them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. You just look at the fourth quarter. Patriots outscored Jacksonville 14-3. This is like you were talking about how they were conservative. This backs it up. With the exception of their last drive that went 6 plays. The 3 drives before that all went 3 plays, except one went 5 plays. They just couldn't move the ball. They were trying to feed Fournette. They were trying to kill clock. Dude, you were dominating this team for the whole game. Why would you change your philosophy in the fourth quarter at the most important time? Keep doing what you're doing. Dominate. Blake Bortles was actually having a really good football game, and then you got away from that. And look what happened. You give Tom Brady a bunch of chances to go down and take the lead back. He's gonna do it. He's been there enough. There's a reason he's a 5-time Super Bowl champ. He backed it. He just backed it up. Like, you cannot give Tom Brady that many chances to come back and score on you, especially at home.
Right.
And that's what Jacksonville did, and it came back to cost.
I think a big thing that hurt Jacksonville in the second half was that they were starting in bad field position inside their own 10 multiple times. If you go back and watch the game, several times in the fourth quarter, they would be backed up inside the 10 and couldn't be aggressive enough to get the ball moving and get out of their own end zone. And then they would end up having to punt back to New England, and New England would know the ball at the 50 or a really good field position. And then, after a couple times that they don't go down and score, you can't give Tom Brady multiple chances with a short field in front of him. And it ended up coming back to haunt them. And, this defense played really well all year, but I think they put too much in their defense in this football game, and their offense needed to go out there and win this game. A stat I wanted to say for this game I thought was a really important stat, and it really this kind of, the final stat doesn't really show what the whole game was about, but I just want to give you perspective. The New England Patriots held the ball for most of the fourth quarter, and the time of possession was still heavily favored for the Jacksonville Jaguars. In the game itself, the time of possession was 35.808 minutes for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and time of possession for the New England Patriots 24 and 52 seconds. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the Jacksonville Jaguars dominated the ball, dominated the line of scrimmage, and they were moving the ball well throughout the game. In the fourth quarter, though, they just couldn't get anything going and ended up, coming back to haunt them.
Blake Bortles, I don't know why they were so afraid to let him throw the ball in the fourth quarter. He almost had 300 passing yards and no turnovers. He did exactly what I said on last week's show. I said, what do they need to do? Blake Bortles needs to play well, and they're going to win this football game. He does play well, and then all of a sudden they're scared that he's going to throw a pick late. Don't be scared. This is the playoffs. This is a chance to go to the Super Bowl. There's no time to be scared. Go down there and win the football game. Don't play conservative. Yes. Be aggressive. Never take your foot off the opponent's neck.
Exactly.
Always keep it down there, and you just keep...
Absolutely.
Oh, my God.
Frustrated me. They had a chance to dethrone this Patriots team, okay? This Patriots team was vulnerable. Their defense wasn't playing well. Tom Brady with the hand injury, he wasn't... he was still, played very well, but still, you could tell in the first half, not really himself. This was the Jacksonville Jaguars' chance that they wanted. They needed Blake Bortles to step up. He did that in the first half and in the third quarter. You can count that too. And he did exactly what they needed him to do. And at the end of the game, they decided they weren't going to give him the ball to win the game. And I thought that was very unfortunate. Blake Bortles left everything out on the field. He did everything they asked him to do. We called on him last week to step up. He did exactly what we asked him to do, stepped up, played really well for this team, and tried to get them to the Super Bowl. And this coach took the game out of his hands. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe it was happening. I just want to say, Blake Bortles, he really laid out on the line. The Jacksonville Jaguars tried not to lose this game instead of going to win. You got to go win these games. It's conference championship. It's playoffs. It's do or die, win or go home. You go win the football game. You don't try to not lose it and try to keep a lead.
I agree 100%. I mean, have faith in your quarterback. Never lose doubt in the playoffs. So.
Exactly. So moving on to the other conference championship game, I wouldn't really call it a game.
I would call it was a Philadelphia practice.
Yeah, it was like a Rocky Balboa, what they call it, a sparring bout. When he gets in the ring and spars practice. But just want to talk about it. I have a question for Michael here. Did we underestimate the Philadelphia Eagles?
This is hard to say this for me because especially we lost, the Falcons lost. We absolutely underestimated this football team, without a doubt. Their defense is playing out of their minds right now in the playoffs, and Nick Foles is being a great leader for this team and is playing great football. Had 352 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. The offense looked so smooth. You had Jay Ajayi ran well, LeGarrette Blount ran well, Alshon Jeffrey looked like a number 1 wide receiver, and then the defense was just forcing turnovers all over the field. We absolutely underestimated this. Who would have I didn't think Nick Foles was going to be able to do what he's done in this playoffs. I really didn't. I thought somebody was going to shut him down, and nobody has him. He's looked great. And definitely they were, without a doubt, the better team in that football game. Hands down, without a doubt. We underestimated this football team and how great they are.
Look, man, we we talk about it all the time, how many times we were right, but we were wrong on this one by a mile. This Philadelphia Eagles team really proved me wrong. They came fired, ready to play. Everybody's been doubting them in the media around the world, around this country. Anybody that knows anything about football thought they had no chance against a Minnesota Vikings team who did what they did against the Saints and played so well in that game. And then, to win like they did, I absolutely thought they were going to go into Philly and just – I thought it would be a close game. I thought they were going to beat Philadelphia. Got to give it to Nick Foles, like you said. This guy's playing out of his mind right now. Look for him to get paid in the offseason. I'm not saying he deserves it, but I just think somebody's going to overreact. But that's here or there. The guy played really well. He stepped up for his team in the absence of Carson Wentz. And, this Minnesota Vikings team defense is one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. You can argue them in Jacksonville. And he absolutely torched them. He torched them.
Their secondary did not have an answer.
No, 26 of 33, 352 yards passing, and 3 touchdown passes. That's outstanding. No matter who you're playing.
I remember one of the plays where it was a deep ball to Alshon Jeffrey, and nobody was within 10 yards, 15 yards of him. Yeah. I couldn't believe him. How as great as the secondaries they had, and how do you leave a guy like that wide open? It's not like you're leaving a slot guy. It's Alshon Jeffrey. That's their number 1 wide receiver, and he was completely wide open.
And then with Minnesota turning the ball over, I think that really hurt them a lot. They couldn't get they were moving the ball in the first half and trying to get some points on the board, but they ended up getting turnovers deep in the red zone and crucial situations. So Philadelphia definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, anytime you get 3 turnovers, it's hard to win a football game
on the road in a playoff game.
Yes,
especially against a hostile environment and against a team that's playing really well like Philadelphia.
Yeah, listen, props to Nick Foles. He's doing a really great job with this Philadelphia team. We definitely underestimate him. Do I think he's going to make more money than he is right now? Yes, but do I think he's going to be making over $10 million a year? No. So we'll see what happens with him in the offseason. Philadelphia's got a big decision to make. But kind of moving on here to the NBA, with the struggles they're having, I have to ask this question. How long did the Cleveland Cavaliers stick with Tyronn Lue as their head coach?
Look, man, this team is falling apart before our eyes. What we thought was going to be a contending team this year and a chance to beat the Warriors in the finals is really crumbling. Under the foundation, you got guys like Kevin Love being called out for being sick, and Derrick Rose taking leave of absence, and not knowing what his situation is. I know he's back now, but you don't know how committed he is. And with Isaiah Thomas coming back, you figured they would be they'd be right back in where they needed to be, but it just hasn't happened yet. And this team is not meshing. Something needs to happen, whether it's a trade, whether it's firing Tyronn Lue. I just can't see it going on like this. This team needs to win championships, and if they don't do that, they're going to lose LeBron in the offseason. So As far as how long do the Cavaliers stick with him, I think if they lose 5 out of the next 7 with the skit that they're already on, they lose 5 of the next 7, I think he's got to go. I mean, even if they lose 3 games in a row, I think he's got to go. You got to make a change and add a spark to this team because this is a very crucial time right now. And with seeding going on, and then trying to convince LeBron to stay is very important for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, they need to turn something around if they want LeBron to stay. Because the way it's going, as of right now, I don't see LeBron as a Cleveland Cavalier next year. I already don't think Isaiah Thomas will be back next year.
No, it just hasn't worked out.
That hasn't worked out at all. He's just not meshing well with everybody else. He just seems like he's not a real good fit. And then, like I said, with everybody calling out Kevin Love, who knows what's going to happen there? Will be a trade or something. And I think if they lose maybe just their next 2 games in a row, I think he's gone. This is too good of a basketball team to be struggling like this. Like right now, they're barely the 3 seed.
Right.
Like I mean, they are literally 4.5 games from not being in the playoffs right now.
3.5. They're 3.5 out. 3.5 behind. Philadelphia's 3.5 behind them right now from the 8 seed.
Yeah, because right now Detroit. Well, I'm saying Detroit is the 9 seed, and they're.
Oh, okay. I see what
Detroit's
you're saying.
4.5
I see what
back
you're
of them.
saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
From being out of the playoffs, they're 4.5 games.
Yeah.
That's not supposed to happen.
They're not. They're going to make the playoffs. LeBron led team's not going to.
It's funny. As bad as of a team they are right now, they're probably still a lock to make the finals.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, something's got to happen. I still think they're going to be in the finals. Too much talent, and
the thing.
I do think Tyronn Lue's not the coach for this team, though.
How is it that LeBron has had such a great career? Everybody knows this. One of the greatest players of all time. Some people say he is the best of all time. That can be argued at a different time and place, but. The fact that you think about his coaches in previous teams and previous seasons, he really hasn't had a great coach. This guy is one of the best players of all time, and the best coach he's had has been Eric Spoelstra, and that really wasn't. Eric Spoelstra's a good coach. He's proven
Eric
that after.
Spoelstra's definitely the best coach he's ever had.
But this guy hasn't had like a Popovich or a Doc Rivers or somebody that can really bring out the best in his other teammates. So I just don't think that Tyronn Lue is the best man for the job, and something needs to go down. And really, it really is not. With all the stars they have, they just don't fit in. There's too many personalities, too many guys that are ball dominant. They don't fit in with each other. You can have a bunch of stars on a team, and I think you just kind of expect that they're going to be really good and be a contender. But I think this is the first team that we're seeing that's not going to work out.
No, all these stars are not working. They need to make a trade. I do think they need to do something trade too, not only like get rid of Tyronn Lue. I do think they need to do trade. Whether it be going to get a veteran guy like George Hill or going making a splash with like DeAndre Jordan, something needs to happen.
Something needs to change
because they got it. They're too good of a team for it, and they've proven they've lost to the Warriors 2 times already.
Yeah. 2 out of 3.
You got to. You got to go. That's the team you have to beat if you want to win a ring. So they need to do something.
They need to
change.
figure it out.
They need to change, and I think honestly, it starts from the top. Change head coach. Can't answer who to get like in season. Obviously, it's going to be an interim coach, but so for the future, that'd be a huge decision to make. But I just don't think. I think LeBron's basically the coach of this team right now.
Yeah, I do. Kind of another coach that just got fired. I want to talk about. I want to ask you: did the Milwaukee Bucks, with the fire of Jason Kidd, do you think they made the right decision at this point in time to fire Jason Kidd?
No, they didn't. Because Milwaukee's in the playoffs right now. I don't ever agree when a team is in the playoffs. I don't think it's the right decision to fire him. Yes, there's still a lot of basketball season left. Yes, they could still not make the playoffs, even if Jason Kidd was still at home. But another thing is, Jabari Parker's not even back yet. So you really didn't get to see what he could have done with a full squad with this group. Because, Eric Bledsoe, he's still kind of, meshing around. But as of late, he's kind of started to mesh a little better with the guys. Giannis is having a great season. Chris Middleton's averaging over 20 points a game this year. I think they should have just waited out and see how the rest of the season would have played out. I definitely think too soon. Now, if they didn't make the playoffs, obviously I would agree offseason fire him, but definitely way too soon.
I think with the Jason Kidd situation, look at your team, man. They do have some guys, some core guys that are very good, like Giannis and Eric Bledsoe, and guys like Chris Middleton, Malcolm Brogdon, who's Rookie of the Year last year. So they do have some guys, some core guys that are really good. But you look at their supporting cast, their role players. Look at their bench. Their best bench player right now is John Henson. That's unacceptable. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. They're doing the best with what they have. My point is that Jason Kidd was trying to do the best with what he had. This team has not fully healthy, like you said, with Jabari Parker being out. When he comes back, that adds another element to what they want to do. He was a second overall pick. Some people might know that. But this team doesn't really fit well. They added Eric Bledsoe, but you look at Giannis, not a really good shooter. Chris Middleton's he's an above average shooter, but they need some more scoring off that bench to make an impact in the Eastern Conference. Otherwise, you're not going to win games that those close games that really matter because you can't take your stars out the game. So I think that's a big factor for the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think they need to look at that because I don't see another coach coming in and doing a much better job than what Kidd was doing. So that's just how I feel about that.
Yeah, I just like I said earlier, I just think it was way too soon to fire Kidd. I mean, you're in the playoffs, just ride it out. You're like 3 games back of the 3 seed. Like, come on now. Why would you fire a coach when you're that close to the 3 seed?
Right.
And you have one of your key guys coming back here soon in February. So I think way too soon. Should have waited. Maybe possible off-season firing if they don't do what they expected. But anytime in the playoff, I don't agree with in-season firings.
Yeah,
you have a good team like that. So definitely disagree. So I guess moving on from that, I mean, who was your biggest snub of the All-Stars?
There was a lot of snubs. You can either go Andre Drummond or guys like Paul George, Chris Paul. But for me, a guy that I think deserved a lot of credit for what he's done, not only this season but throughout his career and been a pretty consistent scorer, is Lou Williams. This season, averaging 23 points a game, 5 assists for Los Angeles Clippers. He's been a big addition for them. Without having Chris Paul, him leaving a free agency and going to the Rockets, and Blake Griffin being there. This guy's really stepped up and taking control of that backcourt and doing what they need to do for them to be a team that can contend for a playoff spot. And Blake Griffin was out. He comes back. They go on a little run. Now they're back in the hunt right there. I think right now they're on the outside looking in, but a couple games ago they were in the 8th spot. So it's going back and forth between them, the Nuggets, the Pelicans, and the Trailblazers. But this guy deserves some consideration on what he's done and just being a really consistent scorer. And this guy is instant buckets. I mean, he gets on the floor and he just puts up shots and gets buckets. And I just feel like he was the biggest snub for me in the Western Conference.
Yeah, Lou Williams have a phenomenal season in LA, and I do think he's definitely a snub, but my snub is Paul George. I feel Paul George is one of the best players in the NBA, and the only reason his points per game aren't higher is because look who he's playing with. He's playing with Russell Westbrook and Melo. Obviously, he's not going to average 28 points a game when he's with 2 superstars. And he's still averaging 21 points per game. And he's also second in the league in steals. He's averaging almost 6 rebounds a game, 3 assists. Tell me those aren't all-star numbers, just that alone. And he's on a good team. I just feel that was a really big snub, and I mean, I know the question is, all right, well, you put him in, who do you take out? I mean, that's a fair question. I mean, I would have definitely I think he's a better player than Draymond.
Draymond gets the credit because he's on Golden State.
Yes, I mean, Draymond's a good player. He's averaging, 14 and 12, and then he, 6 assists. So Draymond has, but I would have put Paul George over him, or even over Jimmy Butler. But Jimmy Butler's also having a good year. Credit to him.
All the guys that are on the All-Star game are all having good years. It's just about who maybe on the outside looking in could have gotten consideration. But you look at the guys that made it. Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler, like you said, Draymond Green. So guys like that, they deserve to be in. But there's some other guys that deserve to be in as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a tough decision to be
very tough.
To put the reserves and the stars. It's always tough. I mean, it's not supposed to be easy.
Right.
They're all stars. You have to pick the best out of the best. These guys are all professionals, and you have to pick the best out of them. So it's definitely a tough decision. But, yeah, definitely Paul George is my big snub. And I agree with Lou Williams being also a snub. I think him just being on a bad team is why he got overlooked out in the West.
Yeah. So going from snubs to studs, time to close out our show with what we usually do every week. And stud of the week. Who's your stud of the week, Michael?
Definitely Nick Foles.
Nick Foles.
I mean, 26 to 33 passing, 352 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Led a dominating performance against that Minnesota defense. Without a doubt, stud of the week. And I can't believe it to say, but Nick Foles is going to be starting quarterback in the Super Bowl come a couple weeks. So definitely, without a doubt, my stud of the week.
I really hate you right now because my stud of the week was also Nick Foles. But since you said Nick Foles, I guess I'll go with another quarterback, even in a losing fashion. Blake Bortles left what he did against New England Patriots. He left everything on the line, and I got to give my man some props. I've been one of the guys, been one of his critics all season, and just felt like they really couldn't go far without him being able to step up and be a good quarterback. But what he did Sunday, he gave his team a chance to win. And I got to give him props. My star of the week, 23 of 36, 293 yards, 1 touchdown. But the big stat, 0 turnovers, and he kept his team in the game. And he was really, the difference maker of why they won the game, because Leonard Fournette didn't really have a huge game statistically. So, got to give my man Blake Bortles. I wish they would have came out on top. I would have loved to see Blake Bortles go against Nick Foles in the Super Bowl.
That would have been a very interesting Super Bowl to watch.
But it didn't happen, and we get to see good old Brady and Belichick back home.
Yep, they're used to being there. Definitely just another home for them, another season of being in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to be interested. We'll definitely be talking about the Super Bowl next week's show, without a doubt.
Yeah, stay tuned for next week's show. We have some great. We're gonna have great Super Bowl talk and predictions and all that good stuff,
and plenty more. So as always, close out the show. Who's your shout out of the week?
My shout out this week is Jonathan Wayne. Jonathan Wayne, shout out to you, buddy.
Alrighty, and as always, good night, America.